Childish Gambino has a brand new single out. It's called Disney Cash Being Dropped on My Front Door by the Truckload. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance Broadcast. We do not have truckloads of cash at our door, but we're here to talk about Star Wars and Childish Gambino, who maybe you don't know who that is. That's Donald Glover. That's Lando Calrissian back in the saddle. We're going to get into that.
I would say more people know about Childish Gambino than they do about Donald Glover.
Than his actual name?
I think so.
I don't know. Community was really popular. I don't know. But
like Childish Gambino.
Either way, he may even change his name to a symbol, like Prince did for a little while. And we just had to say the artist formerly known as Donald Glover. But either way, your names are James and Lacey. I'm John. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's our new show. We're going to get into all the latest rumors, some official news, some fun takes on what's going on in Star Wars. We hope everyone is doing well out there on this July 27th. Dog days of summer coming up, guys. Things are heating up. Yep. How are you guys? How's your summer going in this wild, weird 2020 that we're having?
Really quick, because I can't get this out of my head. I do want to talk about the summer, but your Prince thing. You said he changed his name to a symbol, and then they say the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yes.
Is this not true though? He changed his name to the artist, and then so when you say the artist formerly known as Prince, it's the artist is his name, comma, like formerly known as Prince.
Maybe.
And then from that point on, he just got rid of the whole the artist thing and just went with the symbol. And then that didn't work either, so he went back to Prince.
He became Prince again. And I heard the rumor was he was to get out of a record contract.
Oh, yeah, that could be. That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah.
He also, I love the Dave Chappelle thing. He's like, he puts Dave Chappelle on the cover of his album. Have you ever seen that interview?
I'm sure.
Yes. So
it's
funny.
so good because,
right?
well, there's that. So Dave Chappelle did the skit with the pancake thing, and then he's like,
oh yeah,
and then Prince put me on the cover of one of his records, and it's Dave Chappelle going like this, holding the pancakes or whatever. Yeah, and then he's like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sue him. That's why he's the best. That's why he's the genius or whatever. It was pretty funny. Yeah. Look it up. But dog days of summer, John. I don't know, man. It's same as always, just hotter, right?
Yeah.
I don't really think I'm doing anything special.
You've been using
more walks.
Using that pool a lot?
Using that pool, not a lot though. Because it's weird. It's like it's great in the middle of the day, and then it's like freezing at night. Like it's just such a weird thing to have a pool in Ohio.
All right. Lacey, what's going on with your summer? Were you ever like a lake kid or a pool kid or anything like that?
I'm currently on Exegol. I'm pretty sure Palpatine's outside my house right now. It's thundering and lightning like crazy right now. I was a pool kid. I had a pool my whole life.
Nice.
It was fun.
Good. Are you a good swimmer?
I can swim. I wouldn't say like, let me do the 400 freestyle with Michael Phelps, but I can swim.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, we had a pool growing up too, and my mom it was this urgency thing to like get us into swimming lessons as early as possible because probably had that fear of kids drowning and stuff. But
yeah,
now we get that kickboard thing, the little foam thing,
boogie board.
Yeah, little boogie boards and stuff like that. But then I became a lake guy because moved up to Connecticut and that was the thing. And
do you have a boat?
No, but my friend has a boat. Had a boat. He just got rid of it.
Are you sad?
I am very sad. But you know what? We had a good run, and it was fine.
Probably rent a boat.
Yeah. You know who probably has a lot of boats? John Boyega. So much so that...
You know who has a lot of houses?
Oscar Isaac. I'm saying. So if John Boyega needed another boat, maybe he'd come back to Star Wars. But recently, and this is funny because I think this made the rounds because one of our listeners, I think his name is Steve or something like that.
Steve,
He tweeted at us a screenshot of his exchange with John Boyega. And I told Val about it. I'm like, should we cover this? That John Boyega is saying he's moved on and stuff. He's like, no. He's like, who knows? he's like, who knows what mood he was in that day? You know, you never know. It's just an Instagram comment. But of course, it takes off, and everyone covers his comments that he's moved on from Star Wars. And all this guy Steve did was say, I can't wait to see Finn again. Dressed in all black like Luke in Return of the Jedi with the green lightsaber. And he's like, nah, man, I'm all good. He's like, I've moved on. I don't want to play the role for too long and stuff. So I think that bummed some people out, but
I think it's just for now.
Yeah. What are your guys
taking a break.
What are your takes on his comments? Do you take them to heart, or you think it's more of just in the now, or?
I took it as he's been harassed like crazy over the past few years from Star Wars fans, and now that Star Wars is over, he's saying, I need a break, because he's never going to stop being a Star Wars fan, and he's never going to stop taking paychecks. So I think he's saying, for now, I'm moving on to other projects that I'm really excited about, but I don't think at any point in those comments does he say, I'm done forever. It's just, I don't want to play it for too long. Like, I have other things to offer, which I agree. He does. He's a great actor.
The problem is he didn't say right now. Like James, you know, the How I Met Your Mother thing. Like, I don't want to be with you. And then right now means like there's an opening. He didn't give the opening.
I don't think he needs to.
Yeah.
I think he kind of does need to, because I think in the world of like Hollywood and acting and all that other stuff, like I think he's fine. He's doing what he's doing, and he's talking about his next project, and he's always moving on to the next thing. And I think he's kind of like, I don't know, like kind of coming up himself a little bit. He's like, oh, I did that. That's off my table. Now I'm doing this next thing, and I've got so much more, and I'm not going to be pinned down to Star Wars. That's not me. I'm bigger than that, and that's his confidence that's coming out. But I think like there's a certain group of people, and I'm one of those, that I'm like, dude, come on though. Like, be glad that you were in Star Wars and be happy. And even though it's not on the table, it's not even remotely on the table probably at this point, just be like, I would love to come back. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. It feels weird to me. But.
You know what? It does for me too, in a sense, because when you look back to 2014 and 2015, when they first get involved, him, Oscar, and Daisy, he's jumping over his couch watching the first teaser, getting so excited, talking about how he's so excited to be in Star Wars. So he's having Harrison Ford sign his Stormtrooper, and now it's like he's too good for it. If I'm not saying he is, but if it can come across that way, that he doesn't need it anymore, and I get that, it does feel a little like, man, like that thing's changed like quite a bit. And then also it doesn't help that he made the, you know, you're not going to Disney Plus me comment, almost like that almost sounded like he felt he was too good for that, like almost like Disney Plus is like the minor leagues. Which is ridiculous because Jon Favreau is the king and he's on Disney Plus right now. And this next guy that we're going to talk about in just a minute here might be heading that way, James. So why don't we fire up the Resistance Report and get into our first story?
It's the Resistance.
All right, well, as John said it, Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, is possibly coming back to Disney Plus to reprise his role as Lando Calrissian. This is, of course, coming from the Kessel Run Transmissions, those guys over there, Corey and Noah, right? And they recently gave us that whole story about the Bad Batch, and they'd been saying it for a very long time. And sure enough, they're giving us another scoop. Right off the hot heels of like, hey, what have you done for me lately? You know, you got to think these guys have some inside information here. So I think more people are hanging on to this as a little bit more than a rumor, but more of like a trade saying it's happening, something along those lines. But I would like to talk about it. And I would like to kind of speculate on what we think about this situation. So, Lacey, I'm starting with you on this one. What do you think about Donald Glover returning to play Lando?
I would love to see it. I think Donald Glover's great. I loved him in Community. I loved him as a comedian, and I love Childish Gambino. I'm obsessed with his music. So I think he killed it as Lando. He was the perfect Lando. And I think we've kind of said this on the show before, but he's one character in that movie that no one said was bad. Like, everyone agreed that he killed it. And I think it would be a fun show to watch him go on adventures and get into hijinks and stuff. As far as the rumor side of things go, I feel like there are a lot of leaks and rumors, as always, in Star Wars, especially during this Disney era. It feels like every other week something's leaking, but I am excited at the opportunity that this could be happening, like the hope of it, but there's also a part of me that doesn't want to kind of be burned or like let down when it doesn't. So I'm kind of like, I'll wait for it to be confirmed. But as for an option of something that's really cool, I'm all for it, because we talked about this in the State of Star Wars conversation we had last week, which was, what is going on in Star Wars? Like, what is next? Because right now, all we really have is Mandalorian and these projects that are seemingly having all these issues, and Bad Batch. That's what we got. So if there's another show coming, especially one with Donald Glover, I'm all in.
Yeah. It's actually weird, because I know there's the Obi-Wan and the Cassian thing, but in my head I'm still like, those are coming. They're just being pushed back and they're having problems, but they're still happening. I don't have that with the movies. There's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And anytime they even announce people, like if they did announce, they said, hey, Donald Glover is going to be playing Lando again, I'm like, that's happening. But every time we get like a movie announcement, I'm like, we'll see. Even when it's like Taika Waititi's writing a Star Wars movie, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, and I liked the idea. I know a couple people had said this online of it being the Calrissian Chronicles, like that callback to Solo, where he's doing that vlog thing on the Millennium Falcon. Like, that would be funny to me to continue that on, and then it ties it back to Solo, so that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's right, Lacey. So if this happens, Make Solo 2 was a success. John, it's your turn.
Shut up.
What's that?
Shut up.
What?
No.
Maybe you should start with that, John. Why it's not a success.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, Make Solo 2 happened for some people, like, it was used for characters besides Han and Chewie. So some people would use the hashtag for Enfys Nest, for Kira and Maul, for Lando, and I think it's very possible we're going to see all these characters again. But Make Solo 2 happened for me as Han and Chewie. It always has been Han and Chewie, so I'm going to keep using it and annoying people with it until that happens. So, and that doesn't include cameos. Sam Malone showing up in Frasier does not count for me, but I don't. Yeah, it's a rumor. I mean, these guys definitely nailed the Bad Batch thing. So you have to say, if they're putting this out there, maybe there's legs here to that. But we also know that Star Wars has officially announced projects that wound up not happening. So while this is announced, I doubt that there's ink to paper already and everything's ready to go in terms of producing this thing. So this could be something that's still in talks, still in development, working out deals. I have to admit, out of all the people affiliated with Solo, the last person I thought they'd be able to get to return would be Donald Glover, because out of all of them, including even Woody Harrelson, I feel like he's the most independently successful right now in terms of his star being up here. And I don't mean that in what we were just saying about the Boyega thing. I don't mean to say that he thinks he's above Star Wars or anything like that. I think he loved being Lando. I think he really enjoyed it. He loved meeting with Billy D. Williams and all those stories, and I think he's really into what he's doing. But, so, I mean, if it's true, that's cool. The only thing, though, like, when I first hear it, I'm like, that's so cool, he's coming back as Lando. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what the hell is a Lando Calrissian series going to be about? And I don't mean that in a way that I don't like Lando, but Lando is a supporting character. And people would say, well, Han Solo was a supporting character to Luke Skywalker. Yeah, but Han was one of the three leads. When you have a famous band, he's one of the names of he's Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. He's one of the guys you remember the name of. Lando is a supporting character for Star Wars, and even a supporting character for the Han Solo story. So I'd be curious to see, like, would his story be almost like a retread of a Han Solo type story, because they are similar type of people in terms of how they swindle people and they're scoundrels and that sort of thing? Will it be more of a romance thing, because he's got that whole suave angle and he's very romantic and charming? I'm curious to see what type of show it is. So I need to find out what the vibe is of a Lando show. Is it going to be like almost more of a comedic? Is it going to be adventure? Is it going to be crime? I need to get a vibe on what the Lando show would be, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
To me, I have always considered that if they did do a Lando show, it would be very similar to a Han show as well. Because I think that you're right. I know what you're saying. Like there was the big three, and then they kind of brought in Lando in the second one. But the way he sticks around in the third one too, it's almost like he was like, there's the big three, but if there was a big five, Lando's there. He's definitely like in that like core group of main characters when it comes down to like the last two.
He's the Ringo
Chewie
of
still comes ahead of him. Like there's other, like C-3PO comes before Lando, R2-D2 comes before Lando. Like I get what you're saying, James. It's like
I agree with what you're saying, but I think that would be different if Empire Strikes Back was the first movie. I think simply because of the fact that Star Wars is Star Wars, as A New Hope, that movie. That's why C-3PO and R2-D2 and all those characters are in there. But like, I think, but you read, like they have Lando Double or Nothing. That's like his own thing. Lando, the comic, just Lando, it was like a 5-series thing. Like it's him being who he is. Like he's kind of like a James Bond. Like, he does this and he gets into a little bit of trouble over here, but his real job is this thing. So even though he's playing the game and acting like he's getting sidetracked, part of the sidetrack is the ruse. You know what I mean? I think that a Lando series could be really cool. The only part that I get bummed about is the fact that it's been so long. You know what I mean? Like if you would have told me a long time ago that they're doing a Han Solo movie featuring Lando Calrissian, and then Lando Calrissian's going to get his own series right off of that, like that combined, you're like, I am pumped,
Yeah.
But it's weird to see the movie and still have not idea if they're going to do a sequel or if they're going to, do a Han show, and then they like, well, we're going to do a Lando show. You're like, it's weird. It just feels like I want that Marvel announcement that's like, here's what we're doing. We're doing this and this and this and this. And you just get the scope of everything, and you go in with those expectations of like, we're going to get the Solo movie, then we're going to get the Lando TV show. Now watch him in the movie,
right,
and get a vibe for the show and stuff. And we're backtracking on that now. We're trying to think back and piece it together.
I think that due to what happened with Solo and then everything that happened with The Rise of Skywalker and the way that Benioff and Weiss went, I think that it just feels like Lucasfilm's scared. Like they're nervous to announce projects and talk about them until they're like ironclad, like, yeah, we're doing these. Like Jon Favreau's on set shooting it, and then they'll be like, remember how long it was until we heard anything about Mando? Like we heard once they were on set and Favreau took a picture of the helmet. Like we didn't know anything until that point. It feels like they're just waiting and waiting and waiting to avoid kind of what John was hinting at, which was like this, is it or isn't it happening? Or is someone going to quit? Is someone getting fired? And in the way of trying to avoid drama, they're causing more drama because it just comes across weird.
Yeah. It's they've lost their confidence, and now they're like trying to pick back up.
That feels mixed,
overthinking it
mixed
too much.
To me, because they did officially announce Leslie Headland was making a series, and they officially announced J.D. Dillard was developing a movie. We forget about that.
I wonder if it's because they're just trying
to be
like,
they
look, we
did
have
officially
a
announce
plan.
J.D.
Dillard. They didn't officially announce that.
I think that was a trade story.
Yeah, the only ones that officially were Taika, the woman from 1917, and Leslie Headland.
Right. So
and Kevin Feige
is producing,
and Ryan Johnson producing, or whatever his whole thing was.
His trilogy, which well, that's another discussion. But Yeah. I just don't like. I am all about this, and I will totally watch the Lando series. I will love it. I think Donald Glover was cast as Lando by us as fans before we even knew Solo existed.
Yes.
People he would be a great young Lando Calrissian. I remember people talking about that. And it almost seemed like one of those things where like they probably didn't even have an audition. Like Alden Ehrenreich was one of 3,000 guys auditioning, 3,720 of them, and he was the first one that got it. But Donald Glover, he probably just walked in and he's like, no, I'm Lando. Like he's
like, give it to me or not.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, we gotta have him.
So I'm all down for it. I just don't know what I don't know what a Lando Calrissian series would be. And I know people are gonna shout and in the comments say, well, they could do this, they could do that, they could borrow from the Legends, they could borrow from the comics and this. I don't know if I want to see 4 seasons of Lando Calrissian, but I know I'm gonna love it. I'm just trying to figure out what it is in my head. So I need to know what vibe it is, what niche it is.
Well, Ludwig's gonna do the soundtrack.
Would he? I mean,
yeah, he probably would.
That's pretty.
I know what
that's
you're
a
saying.
really good point, actually, because he does his Gambino stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he worked with them, I think, on just one record, but that's a strong connection for sure. And he's already done the other Star Wars.
Yeah, he did.
thing.
This Is America, and that was a massive hit.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that
it
song
does
so
make me
much.
feel. It does make me feel weird though to think that they wouldn't bring in like someone new, like a fresh understanding of the story. But you're right.
They're buddies.
Lacey,
That's my thing.
makes
Is like,
sense.
hey, wouldn't you want to work with your buddy?
And I wonder if it's one of those things where they had to like beg him to come back, or if he's like, yeah, I'll
But
come
think
back.
of how many other buddies Donald Glover has.
Oh, sure.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
not. That's not what I'm
Chevy
saying. I'm saying like
Chase.
he's already in. Oh, jeez. Yeah, he's already in the Star Wars world though, and has already been proven as someone that they can use.
Yeah.
So I could see
Yeah.
executives being like, "Well, we already have him. We've used him. He's, people will like his music."
I like
so.
John's Chevy Chase example. Like, do what you did with Vacation.
No, he hates Chevy Chase.
Yeah,
They
most
all
people
did.
do, I think, at this point.
The community people
Yeah, I
did.
think-
Yeah, that's why they killed him off in like their little table read.
So he used to live around here. I don't know if he still does. And he used to rent out the back room at Boston Billiards apparently a lot. And everyone who said they ever met him said he was such a,
Mean guy.
a D word.
Dog?
I don't know if I'm allowed to, I forget which words we allow me to say on this podcast, but you get the drift. But yeah, I'm totally down.
Drift?
I'm down. Just douche. I'm totally down for Lando. I just, like I say, I want to see what it is. That's all. And if it's true, like, we'll see.
Yeah. I think the show could be good. That's my end result on that. All right, but we don't know when it's coming, right? That's one of the big problems here. It looks like as of Thursday, Variety put out a report that says it was kind of sideswiped a little by Mulan. They put out a big thing and they said, hey, Mulan, because of the pandemic, we've been pushing it. And at this point, we are straight up just saying we're indefinitely pushing it. We have no clue when this movie's coming out. But because we're making this announcement, we're also going to throw in that our slate is being pushed just as a whole. And I don't know where the slate is. I went looking for it. Variety is stating what it is, but I wish there was an original like press release that we could actually look at it.
This time last year is when they announced all this stuff.
Yeah. So it was May 7th, 2019 was when all the whole like, oh my God, there's 3 untitled Star Wars movies coming out on these dates. That was, I think, May 7th.
Right.
So right around this time. Long story short, it looks like the Disney movies, the 3 Star Wars movies, I should say, are now listed as untitled Star Wars movie coming in 2023, 2025, and 2027. Of course, which all are pushed back 1 year. So it's going to be even longer before we get started into this next trilogy or whatever it is. We're all kind of assuming that Taika Waititi's is the first one, but we do not know. John, Take us on the journey. What do you think of this story?
It's a bummer, without a doubt, and you kind of get that feeling if you just put your ear out to people's reactions to it, because I know people say, well, we waited 16 years between the original trilogy and the prequels. We can do that, and it's just a different world now. And you look at Marvel popping off 2 or 3 movies a year, and you're like, oh well, all right, fine. Star Wars is different. We'll wait a couple years. We'll get our Star Wars movie, and now it's like we're gonna push it again. So, and that was coming off of the idea that we were going to get maybe 2 Star Wars movies a year at one point. So now we're 3 years out, and I think that it's funny, these slots don't mean anything, because Bob Iger said that first slot was Benioff and Weiss. That first movie, the 2022 movie that is now 2023, that was Benioff and Weiss's slot. That's why these things are still called untitled, movies. They're not called the Taika Waititi movie. It's called untitled. They're leaving the slots open in case something happens. And so you got these 3 movies. I don't know that this is a trilogy. People always assume these are going to be bing, bang, boom, 3 movies, and a connected story. I don't know that that's the case. So it's amazing not knowing what the deal is. And I don't know if I had to give my best guess, I would say if you hooked up Kathleen Kennedy and Michelle Redjwan or whoever, Bob Iger, to a lie detector and asked them what the Star Wars movies for 25 and 27 are, they would not know. I think they know that the next Star Wars movie is Taika Waititi's movie, probably. He's the only person we're hearing that is he's actively writing his movie right now. Right?
Yep.
Rian Johnson, we never heard from. Kevin Feige, maybe he's producing. They only said he was going to be producing a Star Wars movie, so maybe he's producing Taika Waititi's movie. That makes sense with the Marvel connection.
And we know that he's writing it because they asked, "Are you writing it?" And he said, "Yes."
Yes. He's like, how you gonna ask me that? Yes. So
everybody on every blog website.
Yeah.
I think as we're recording right now, I think Grant might be writing up like our version of that.
Yeah.
Star Wars news is so slow. But
what does it mean?
How do I fill text? But I don't know. It's just a kind of a bummer that they're pushing it. And I know, it's the COVID thing and that makes sense. But I think Lucasfilm was like, thank God we have an excuse, because we don't know what we're doing post Skywalker with they got Disney Plus figured out, I think. But in terms of the theatrical big films, what Star Wars was built on, the fabric of Star Wars, the big blockbuster feature theatrical films, I think it's shaky, and I don't know what they're doing. My last thought on this: Kathleen Kennedy's contract is even further from these movies, and when she may be leaving. So I'll let Lacey pop in here, but I have one more thought I want to throw in at the tail end of this thing. I feel like I've been going on.
Lacey.
I think John put it perfectly. I don't know what else I have to add. Just like they have no details to add to this movie calendar.
Are you bummed out though? Like, are you like, whatever?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it this way, the last movie of that series or group of movies is 2027. That's almost a decade from now. And Marvel's like, here's 17 things that are coming out in the next year. And you're like, oh, what about Star Wars? I feel like as a fan, we were kind of like unofficially promised that we were getting all this new Star Wars content, and it feels like they're like, no, psych, we're kidding. That was all. That wasn't real. But I think what I kind of played into in the previous answer was, I really think that they, 1, aren't sure what they're doing. They're still trying to figure it out. And 2, they're scared. I think they put a lot of time and effort into that Benioff and Weiss stuff, whether they want to admit it or not. And I think that flopping and not going the way they wanted it to really kind of shook their plans for the next decade. And I get it, but you think that they would just plug someone else into that slot and keep going, but I guess not.
Even like, and I'm not trying to down him, but even if it's like a Gareth Edwards, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like a Steven Spielberg. Like, we're like, oh man, we lost Steven Spielberg. Who are we going to get? And then they're just looking for somebody on his par, or something. Like,
but who's going to write it?
Well, I'm saying Rogue One still existed, and there's no Jon Favreau attached to that. You know what I mean? It's like it's good people doing good work, And what we know about Rogue One is that a lot of it was kind of controlled overhead. They're like, hey, this isn't working. We're bringing in other people. We're fixing things. And as long as the people play ball, they're like, I get to be a Star Wars director. And the movie turned out fine. Like, I kind of don't understand if they did have this whole thing where they worked on the origin of the Jedi, why?
I don't know, but it makes me also think of all the Solo stuff and how that went. And I think it's just, I mean, recently on Twitter, for people that aren't on Twitter, which congrats, you're not on there sometimes. Someone had wished a happy birthday to Phil Lord, right? And said, like, to the executive producer of Solo, happy birthday. And he wrote, is this a bit? Like, are you serious right now? And I remember seeing it because I think I was tagged in it or something. And immediately I just went, because it was one of those things that you're like, oh, like, he's not happy about this. And then people like Edgar Wright chimed in. Like, all these people started chiming in, being like, yeah, it's a joke. It's blah, blah, blah. And it made me think, like, if I was a part of Lucasfilm and I saw things like that, because you have to imagine someone somewhere saw it, they would be like, see, this is why we don't share things yet until they're like set, because even when they're set and we think things are going great, they end up bad, and then this is what happens.
You know what's funny about that?
It kind of adds to that laundry list of things of like what's going badly.
So that's one of our listeners, Samuel Allen.
Yeah, hi Samuel.
He literally wishes everybody who's ever touched Star Wars a happy birthday.
The nicest guy.
Every day. Like, it'll be a creator you've never heard of, and he's got their birthday, and he's like, so he literally, genuinely just wished him a happy birthday, and Phil Lord thought he was being a douche, and he wasn't. He was just wishing him a happy birthday.
Is that the word of the day today?
I guess. That's Phil. Hey, look, he assumed it, and it was not the case.
I'm just saying, I don't want to get into that side of things, but I'm just saying, like, in the sense of, if people are leaving these projects, like Colin Trevorrow, who is still giving seemingly panels discussions with Duel of the Fates, like, I can imagine if you're involved in the planning and strategy and where things are going and storytelling in Star Wars, you're looking at these examples being like, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
Like,
what's going on?
If any of us were like, we were going to direct a Star Wars movie and we got fired, you would have the ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend syndrome where you're like,
I would never talk about it ever again.
I would. I'd be like Dave Mustaine, who's still talking about Metallica 40 years later.
Oh, I would be the person like hiding under the covers, like hating myself.
I think that's pretty funny. I think we've said it before in the show, it's just a theory, but I think the Benioff and Weiss was certainly supposed to be this whole High Republic thing, and the books were supposed to be supportive of it. So no, those, I think they're worried about those, and we're going to get into those in a little bit, I guess. But this thing also makes me think, like, the more stuff like this happens and they're pushing stuff out and you still don't hear his name out there, the less confidence I have that we're going to see Rian Johnson's movies. You know?
How did I know you were going to circle back to this? When you said I had one more thought, I knew it was going to be.
Well, that's the biggest elephant in the room here, because it was an officially announced trilogy on StarWars.com 3 years ago. And we know that Kathleen Kennedy is the one who really loved Rian Johnson, and they were going to offer him 9, and Disney's like, not after the backlash of that last one. So they gave him a consulary project, which is you're going to have your own series of movies, which in retrospect, maybe J.J. Abrams should have done the whole trilogy and Ryan should have started something from scratch, but that's my own thoughts. But if Kathleen Kennedy leaves, I think that's even less of a chance in terms of seeing Rian Johnson. I think she's the one who's keeping that alive. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of question marks about that, and as they should be, because they just announced Knives Out 2. It's clear Rian Johnson is not a person who's out of ideas.
That movie is so good.
He probably probably has plenty of ideas on what he wants to do with Star Wars, so it's not on his part. Trust me, it's not his lack of imagination or writing abilities.
Right.
They're not talking about him because it's on their part. So people got to keep that in mind. When you're seeing these movies and these dates announced and you still don't see his name popping up, but you're hearing all these new people coming up. Taika, he's already writing his. He just lapped Ryan Johnson, and he just got announced.
It just made me think of Captain America, where he's like, passing on your left.
Yeah, Taika's passing Ryan Johnson on his left. So
I love that scene. Passing on your left.
Yeah, passing on your left. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. It's just, but it is, I know we're all bummed out, though, because Celebration 2022, we thought we were going to get that movie.
2020 has been rough. And it feels like Disney doing this is like, let's just act like 2020 didn't happen.
Yeah. So.
You know, I might get a little spicy here for a second, but
I like spicy. Jamie.
Well, I just went and took a look. I just kind of wanted to get like an idea, and I didn't even realize it was this ridiculous, and it kind of makes me mad. I was like, okay, what's Marvel doing? And right now, it is true. They had a movie. It was supposed to be in May. It was Black Widow. It still hasn't come out. That's fair, right? Mm-hmm. Pandemic, right? We're not holding anybody against that. But you know what? You know what hasn't gotten moved? The Eternals. The Eternals has a release date, February 12th. You know what hasn't gotten moved? Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has a release date, May 7th, 2021. Now, granted, this is a different studio, right? Morbius.
But it's under Disney.
Right. Venom. Spider-Man 3. All of these movies have release dates. Thor, Love and Thunder, that's happening, 2022. February 11th, release date. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, release date, has one. Black Panther 2 has a release date. Captain Marvel 2 has a release date. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel has a release date. Like beyond that, we know Guardians 3 is coming. We know Blade is coming. We know
and James,
Ant-Man
don't
3
forget
is coming.
they're also doing a full slate of Disney Plus shows. Because while you're saying this, people are going to say, "Yeah, but Star Wars is doing the shows now."
Yeah, but they're also
Marvel's doing that too.
They're doing Loki, Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I find it very frustrating that they can move Black Widow and we're like, okay, but yet we've not heard anything about these other movies because we're pretty confident that those are still in production, happening. They're working on them. They're doing all this stuff. And then we get this announcement from Lucasfilm that's like, oh, sorry, guys. We don't know what we're doing, but we know that we're going to push it back a year. Why? What are you doing? You're not doing anything. That makes me mad. What got pushed back a year? Your meeting over Skype where you're just coming up with ideas? I'm sorry, but
Skype.
What are you doing?
We talked about this Lucasfilm thing, and we had someone comment, and there was like, hey, they're doing other movies or whatever. They did Strange Magic back in 2015, and then they are working on something else that isn't anything. It's like a new thing that is like the last thing on their slate, like after the Star Wars movies and everything. Everything that they're doing is Star Wars and Indy 5. That's it.
Oh,
that's all they're doing.
You see Clayton tweet, it looks like we're not going to get Indy 5 now.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's like,
and I agree. I don't think we are. I think it's done.
Meanwhile, James Cameron's just like, I got time.
Yeah. James Cameron's another thing too. The thing about the Avatar and the James Cameron thing is that they're working on it. They're doing it at least.
And James Cameron was like, I built like 3 pools for this movie. I built a whole camera system. Yeah. He's like, oh, by the way, Star Wars, I'm stealing your release dates.
I think Jim Cameron added another ocean to Earth. I think there's 8 oceans now or something.
Yeah.
He built a planet.
He built a planet.
He figured out interstellar time travel.
Yeah. I like that John thinks there's 7 oceans.
How many? Were there 5 oceans?
No, there's 4 oceans.
Oh, there's 4?
I think you're going off of 7
continents.
seas.
No, the 7 continents. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. 7 continents.
Right.
I think my favorite Beatty quote right now is, what are you doing?
They're not doing anything. Like, come on. Like, I have faith in Star Wars, and
James,
I know that they're working on big projects or whatever. But seriously, like, it's kind of ridiculous. You're going to tell me, like, hey, we're pushing it back. Like, I had faith in you, and now this makes me mad.
James, let me ask you an honest question, because the 3 of us, you're the biggest fan of the publishing end of stuff. They're holding up their end of the bargain, but they also rely on not the trickle down, but the big money makers,
Novelizations.
feed into these different branches that allow them to create other stories that connect the canon. Obviously, the movies are the most important thing for canon. So the publishing side is probably getting a little annoyed too, because they're like, oh man, we thought we were going to be getting, these movies, and we were going to make books off of this and comics off this. I'm sure that, Disney Publishing and Sig Lane and all them are like, I'm on, like, because it's on him now, because he still has to do his job. And it all comes down from the top.
Don't think of it as a person who is like, writing a Star Wars book. They're writing a book to make money. They're getting the Star Wars name, and they're like, that's going to be a bonus for us. And you know what's even going to be a bigger bonus is if they do like movies related to these things, right? So like, for instance, like Black Spire, right, or Phasma or something like that. Those are good Star Wars books, but they're probably not going to sell as much as like the novelization of The Last Jedi or something, right? Just because the more tied in with the movies you can be, the next step down would being like, oh, this character appeared in the movie or something along those lines. That's just bonus on top of them. So hearing that movies or big name television properties or whatever around the High Republic aren't happening, could be, not because we don't know that it ever was. They might have been pitched the idea, be like, hey, we want to give you guys free reign to do whatever you want. It's not going to be a movie, but you can use the Star Wars name and explore the era. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But in the sense that you're saying, John, like if there was in fact supposed to be something bigger to this is a huge bummer. Like imagine writing, being offered a movie adaptation book and you get to write it, and then they're like, never mind, we're actually not going to make the movie, but good luck with the book.
Yeah,
you're like,
or you just lose the job.
The only reason I signed on to this because it was going to be a career booster for me.
Right.
I was writing the novelization for what was going to be a big name thing. But
so I have a theory, but it goes against what I hope happens. Because I would love to see Favreau and Filoni be some sort of two-headed monster taking over creative and the studio. In terms of Favreau doing the studio and Filoni heading some sort of new version of a story group thing. But I'm thinking about how George Lucas handed Lucasfilm over almost like a smooth transition sort of thing. Like, here are my toys, now you get to play with them. I had these ideas for, the sequel trilogy, and they sort of took it, but then they took his stories away. But it was still like a sort of a smooth handover thing. If Taika Waititi is the next movie, is this the handover project where behind the scenes things are already taking place to transition to different people in power at Lucasfilm? If Kevin Feige is the person producing the Taika Waititi movie, is Kevin Feige taking over Lucasfilm? And is that the one movie that is I'll hand you the baton, and both our hands are on the baton, and then you're going to take it, and the other two movies are going to be whatever he or whoever's in power is in charge of? And if we're believing all these stories we're hearing with, like, Lacey saying her connections over at Disney, or saying company-wide there's changes, so maybe that includes Marvel, even though they're doing well, which means Feige would leave that. What I heard about Lucasfilm, definitely, like, it's not if, it's when, and it sounds more sooner than when her contract's up. What if that movie, the Taika Waititi movie, is the transition of power film, and then that's why they pushed those other two, and they don't have names on them because they don't know what they are yet, because the person in charge isn't in the seat yet.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a good discussion for later.
I know.
It's possible.
Yeah.
We're running long on this episode in particular, but
it's so juicy.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, that's the thing is, like, I feel like our mixed bag here is just like, hey, they announced today that because of a global pandemic, we're actually going to be pushing the movies back, and we're not taking the news lightly. I don't think there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure there are, but anybody who's like paying attention to Star Wars news in general, that seems to be like that red flag for me. Like I said, like I was like, why are you pushing him back? Doesn't make sense to me.
You're still 2 years off.
Yeah,
because they can't. So, you can't use the crutch of, well, they're focusing on TV now. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? Marvel's doing twice as many shows as you too. So you can't, and they're doing all those films. So try again.
Here's the other thing too. here's the other thing too, is like it also is like, okay, they're only 2 years out, and like, okay, 2 years is maybe a good amount of time. If you were to start working on a movie right now, you might be able to get it done, but you know, they want to have a little planning. This makes me feel like if it's not that they're not doing their job now, they weren't doing their job before. Like, while Rise of Skywalker was doing its thing, like, you maybe put too much focus into that movie and you were taking a break on all of your future projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think also that overall in the US, it kind of feels like a lot of companies are using COVID to their advantage in the sense of reestablishing staffing, cleaning house, re-strategizing. Like, this is kind of a year where a lot of people are losing money. A lot of people are having to change how they're doing things, especially the movie industry. But they're also using it as a moment of pause of, okay, this is what's not working. Let's figure it out now while we have the time. And I think John's right in the sense that they're looking at this like, look, we need more time, and this is an excuse to get more time without drawing more attention to it. Because if, you know, COVID-19 wasn't going on right now and they announced, hey, we're pushing all the Star Wars movies back a year, could you imagine the narrative of that? People would be like, why? You still have 2 years. And they're going to be like, oh,
the Fire Kathleen Kennedy crowd would definitely be raging. Yeah.
Right. They'd be like, you know, things take time. Like you said, James, like, oh, we're focusing on TV. Now they have that narrative. They have COVID-19 as something they can be like, well, because of this, we need more time for everything. And I could see companies pushing back other projects just to allow Star Wars to have more time, because Bob Iger admitted he should have pushed Solo back. He should have given Solo more time. So I could see them looking at this, especially Star Wars, and saying, we can't afford to keep messing this up or keep not getting what we want out of it. But I think COVID is definitely going to be used as an excuse for a lot of stuff. People, like, especially staffing changes, like people leaving, moving elsewhere, getting laid off.
They get no reason to fire that guy.
Right, and now
everybody
you can
hated
say,
at your job, and you're like, man, budget cuts, we're losing a lot of money.
Guy.
Sorry, we got to let you go.
Yeah.
And you're like, whew.
Switching the players is what I've seen businesses call it, you know,
oh,
figuring out your best team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, all of this stuff is something that we could have in future discussions. Believe me, we got 3 years to think about it. We should, because we're running out of time, we should probably just skip to our last story here, which is the quick one. The fact that we were just talking about the High Republic, right? They did reveal a new Jedi Master character from the High Republic, Sskeer. And a little bit more about some other characters who have set up a dynasty as far as hyperspace trade routes and go. We just kind of laid out the whole High Republic and publishing with our story there, but did you guys have any thoughts on the new character and the idea of this Outer Rim dynasty?
I've seen probably 4 to 5 pieces of art, I feel like, of Avar Kriss. I've seen her with her hair down, her hair up. I've seen her in different outfits. She looks different. I would say this concept art is probably the most realistic version I've seen, and it's very comic booky looking, is how I take it.
She also looks exactly like Cersei from Game of Thrones.
I could see that. But she has a more defined crown that she's wearing compared to other drawings, which I found interesting. The Sskeer guy looks like one of the Goombas from the Mario Brothers movie from like the 80s or 90s. Those weird small lizard head dudes. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Great. More of these sketches. Like, can we get an actual like story?
Can I jump off that too? Is like that's the thing that I thought was really weird, is they released 3 images and they're all concept art, and I'm like, we should be past concept art. You should be showing me the real art, and then later, after I'm into it, release all the concept art, you know?
They announced this in February, do you realize?
But
yeah.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, James.
Well, the one thing that I thought was weird too is not only is it concept art, but you gave me the same character in the same position, standing there with a different outfit on. It's like, this isn't my first look at the character. This is somebody else's first look at making the final decision on what they want him to look like.
Right.
That's frustrating to me. It's like, hey, here's Kylo Ren. He may look like this or this. We haven't decided. Here's your first look at him. It's like, no, make a decision on what these characters look like and then show me.
Well, they're going to get that Goomba feedback and be like, oh, got to change that.
James is going to go to Lucasfilm and be like, so what do you do here?
Yeah. Even in your example, you said, you've seen her in multiple outfits. I'm like, okay, that was one press release. This is another. This is another. This is them being like, here's 3 images. And I'm like, 2 of them are the same.
It's the same.
It's literally the same picture. You like removed a layer and put on the other layer.
Looks like
and you're
Cher
like, I don't know, that one.
Where she's
that
picking
one
her
works
outfit
too.
in the morning.
It's that game in the
Yes.
bar. It's that game in the
Yes.
bar where you have to pick what's different about the image.
Well, no, I was thinking more
What do
like
they call that?
Paper dolls.
like where you have like the person and they're standing there and then you can like swipe and their outfit
They change the
changes
outfit?
or whatever.
Yeah.
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 I'm like, what is this? Why am I looking at this?
Well, and also, like, I see these, like, images, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I forget that these are just, like, these are nothing. These are visual guides for when you read the book so you can picture the character in your head at this point. Because there's no, well, they are doing comics. So that's true. They could appear in comics. That's fair. But they're not going to be animated right now. They're not going to be live action right now. So they're relegated to cover artwork and the comics. I did forget about the comics. So maybe these will fit in the comics. But I keep forgetting that this High Republic stuff is not going beyond the pages. And, for a lot of fans, that's fine. They can live there with this. But this really seems like such an important time in Star Wars. If you're talking about the height of the Jedi, like the foundation of your franchise, the Jedi, at the height of their powers, and it's just going to be in literature. It takes me back to the Benioff and Weiss thing. Everyone's heard me go on that rant before. But I think they that's another thing they got to figure out what they're doing with this, because this isn't going to be it. But they have said, as of now, there's no plans to create other media about this. So I don't know.
There's a rumored game too, but who knows?
A lot of rumors.
Yeah, a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
If you don't give us true information, you're going to get more rumors than anything, and that just cloudies your properties, Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Causes people to come up with their own stories, and then they don't like it when you don't do the thing that they thought up in their head. Guys, that's it for Resistance Report this week. I do want to get to the Patreon pod race, though. Lacey, can you take us on that journey?
Yeah, so it's time for the Patreon pod race. So there's a lot of different ways that you can support us. You can like this video, comment, subscribe, let us know what you think of the High Republic below, and follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. Or if you want even more content where we talk about all different types of things in Star Wars, polls, and much more, you can head over to patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you get access to all that content. And then as you go up in the ranks of officers, you get more and more access, including private chats and mailings and all different cool stuff. So our top tier, our generals, provide so much support to us. They're a great group of people. Yes. They're so positive and fun and just really love Star Wars just like us. And they're able to joke around with us a lot, which is great. No matter if we're happy or spicy like James, they always keep us in line, so to speak. So I want to give them a shout out and thank them. Thank you, General Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, Micah Harrison, Jetta Rosewater, Michael Gaines, Bethany, Russ Harbison. Harbison. I'm so sorry,
Always.
Russ. Harbison. I don't know why. Anyway, and Kendall. Thanks, guys. Russ, you're the best. All right, so then This week, Kendall's up. It's our rotating slot for generals. We asked Kendall, what is your all-time favorite Star Wars quote? What made it stand out to you and why is it your favorite? So Kendall's going to let us know now. So Kendall, take it away.
After some thought, my favorite Star Wars quote of all time is from the master of quotology, Yoda himself. And it is, "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter." And that really just stuck with me a lot as a kid. I kind of imagined some shining version of ourselves that was always around and out there that we could reach out to and become better than we thought we could be. And so just kind of stuck with me my whole life, that kind of philosophical concept. And I really like that a lot. And then just kind of as a bonus quote to throw something else in there, I also really, to reflect the humorous side of Star Wars, I have to include the Hondo Ohnaka quote, "Oh, the stories I could tell, many of them true." And with that, I hand it over to you.
Awesome job, Kendall, on your first pod race. You're now an official general. So, John, what did you think of his answer?
Well, first of all, the video production quality was outstanding. I think he even named one of his videos at 4K. But Kendall, I thought you did a great job. One of my favorite Yoda quote is, "For my allies, the Force and a powerful ally," is right around that same speech that you're talking about luminous beings. We are not this crude matter, where Frank Oz was able to claw Mark Hamill's shoulder. And I like your angle on that. It's a way for us to expand and know that there's a better version of ourselves to yearn for. It's not just what's here. It's who we can be. So I really like that approach to what you said there. Yoda quotes, you can pick any, especially from Empire, and just find good meaning to it. I've never heard anyone put it that way. So I thought you did a really great job. Love the shirt, by the way. Love the Stay on Target shirt there. I got to get myself an orange shirt now that I think about that.
It was a slick orange color.
I have my softball team. We have an orange jersey, but I need a regular orange t-shirt now. You've sold me on that, Kendall. But thanks for being a general. Thanks for all your support. And first time doing a pod race, crushed it. So thanks, man.
James?
Yeah, I agree. I really like the luminous beings we are. Not the crude matter thing. It takes me back to that whole, if you cut off your arm, are you still you? Kind of thing. And you start thinking about your body and in replacement of your mind or your thought process, what are you? And I don't know, it's such a good thing for someone a good line for someone who's aware of meditation and prayer and other religious aspects and stuff like that. So I'm with you, man. I think that is a great line. And the other one too, the Hondo Ohnaka stuff, man, because I'm one of those people that was totally on board with not liking Hondo for the longest time, even when he was in Rebels, and I was like, I just kind of I don't get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make this character happen, and he's not happening. And then I read Pirate's Price, and I just totally flipped on Hondo. And now, when I look at the character, or anytime they do something interesting or new with him, or even when I go back and watch the other stuff, I get Hondo now. And that's exactly what I love about that quote. Oh, the stories I could tell. Many of them are true. It's just, it's so good. All right. Yep. But thanks for being a general, and thanks for doing the pod race for the first time. Good one.
All right, Kendall, great job for your first pod race. You killed it, like John said. I loved your quote. Yoda is so good. He has so many great quotes, but I agree with you. There's something just about all of his quotes about being more than you think you can be and believing in yourself and stuff like that is just why he means so much to all of us, and it was a perfect quote. So, again, thank you for your support, and now we're going to hear from the rest of the community, and I'm going to head over to John.
Yes, it is time for Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
That was so enthusiastic.
What?
That was so enthusiastic.
Oh, I'll redo it. Hang on. Now it's time for Ask the Resistance. So yeah, we asked you guys to send us some questions, and you do. We appreciate that very much. Anytime you want to send us something that you'd like us to discuss or talk about via a question, you can send it on Twitter at RBATSWNN using the hashtag AskTheResistance, or you can email it to us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. If you're a Resistance officer, you can send it to us on a direct message or on the Discord or wherever you'd like. A lot of ways to reach us, but these folks made it on the show here. Some look like first-timers, I think. We have Charlie Davis at Chase A. Davis. Lacey, Charlie's asking, for those of us that do not have a favorable impression of Lando from The Empire Strikes Back, Rebels, or Solo as a double-crossing swindler, why should we be interested in a potential series? So we did talk about this a bit, but now you get to give your take on people who aren't big fans of Lando.
Hey, Charlie, how's it going? Thanks for your question. I guess my first question to you is, why do you not have a favorable impression of Lando? Because I noticed that you left off Return of the Jedi, and I feel like he makes up for all the shenanigans he pulled in Empire Strikes Back by going to Jabba's palace and, you know, flying the Falcon and everything and basically destroying the second Death Star. But
Wedge.
Yep. So as for Solo, so this series would be a younger Lando. My one word would probably be capes, because he has a lot of wonderful capes, and if we saw only a glimpse of what his outfits could be, they'd probably be pretty awesome. That, and as we said earlier, you know, Donald Glover did an amazing job as Lando and made him funny and like kind of just like smooth, like even smoother at times than I think Billy D does. As the younger version anyway. And I say this all the time, I just like want more Star Wars. So I feel like anybody's gonna like it because he doesn't have force powers. He's funny and kind of a ladies' man type of guy. I feel like people like that character. I've been watching a lot of Lucifer, and like that's that kind of character, and I just love it. So I would say that's my reason. But capes, definitely capes.
Right on.
I like that answer. The whole, if we just had an inkling of its cape potential.
Okay, James, this one's going to you from Tom Rose at Towhead81. What is up, Tom? James, do you think we will see the Inquisitors make the jump to a Disney Plus series, perhaps Obi-Wan? Or the rumor going around that Moff Gideon might be an old Inquisitor? That's a rumor?
Oh, really?
Wow. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what do you think? We're gonna see some live action Inquiz?
Inquiz.
Inquiz no subs.
What's the thing where like nobody challenges the Star Wars Inquisition or whatever? You know what I'm talking about?
Nobody beats the Inquiz.
The Monty Python thing.
Do you guys remember that commercial?
No.
With
It's the
huge eyes. Do you remember that for Quiznos? No.
The hamsters?
No, I remember the hamsters.
Yeah. Never mind.
God. It's nobody something the Spanish Inquisition. It's like a Monty Python
Nobody
thing.
beats the Wiz.
Oh, yes. The Spanish Inquisition. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, though this is the Star Wars Inquisition. Okay, getting to the question. Yes, I do think Inquisitors are going to make the jump to Disney Plus, because I think that is something that's been like something that fans have wanted for a very long time. They want this whole like, what do we want to see? We want to see Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi. That's what people always say. And if you're not reading the Darth Vader comic, you're missing it. That is the story. It's awesome and it's really good. So pay attention to that. Do I like the idea of Moff Gideon being an old Inquisitor? Look, I'm not a fan of the idea that he is a Force sensitive. I like the idea of him not being a Force sensitive. But if you are going to go the route and you're going to say that he is Force sensitive and that he has history within the Empire, please make him an Inquisitor. I like that so much more, because then you get into the ties with so many other things, and we get this other person who has this history of just being a sick, twisted individual who's out to kill all the other Jedi and stuff, and who used to work for Vader, like, you know, under him, like, and obviously ties to Rebels and stuff. Like, oh man, yes. If they go that route, please make it an Inquisitor. That's my opinion.
And that could line in with his quote from his interview saying a descendant of Vader. That could line in with that in a way.
That's true too.
All right, cool. Good answer. All right, next, Peter McCluskey at Red P Mac. Did Poe actually save the Resistance when he took out the Dreadnought in Last Jedi? Would that ship have destroyed the fleet if he'd followed orders and left it alone? I am going to lean that Leia's instincts are more right than Poe's, especially at that point in the story. Especially when we realize that after the fact that Leia is more in tune to the Force than we had maybe realized in terms of her abilities of using it and that sort of thing. So when you put that lens on it, it reminds me of sort of the Obi-Wan adage, there are alternatives to fighting, or a solution will present itself, like Qui-Gon says. I think that approach is sometimes the way, whereas Poe, that was his biggest mistake in The Last Jedi, and from that point on, he sort of learns how to become a better leader. So I think them having him take that out was them showing his final big mistake. Going to, one step forward, but two steps back because of what he did in a way. So I don't know that if he didn't do it, it would have wiped them out. I think Leia had a pretty good grasp of the situation. I don't like to think that him following Leia's orders leads to the destruction of the fleet. That doesn't sit well with me. So I'm going to say no. I think that's not the case. All right, last one. We're just going to go real quick, guys, here. For OT Nix at This Is Nix. There's so much. Hi, Nix. There's so much Star Wars merchandise, old and new, that we cherish collecting, but I wonder, thinking face, is there any type of Star Wars merch item that you would... Oh, thinking face. It's the emoji that transferred. Is there any type of Star Wars merch item that you would love to own?
What's up, OT Nix?
But it has not yet been created.
Rey's yellow lightsaber. Still waiting for it. Still want it. Has not been released or created yet.
James?
You waiting on me?
Yeah.
Boba Fett's jetpack.
That's pretty good too. I want to go with... Have they made like a proper version of the DL-44, like the Han Solo?
Probably. I can't say for certain, but I would imagine so, right?
Or what about even the...
I think it's there's like an orange version that's out.
What if they made the extended version that Beckett took the DL-44 off of and gave to Han? What if they made the whole version that Beckett had, like the whole rifle
that'd
version?
be cool. They actually didn't make a lot of Solo stuff, toys-wise, so...
I think that would be something I'd like. And then you could take the DL-44 off.
I want the guy in the jar that sings, and when you press a button, like bubbles come up like like a lava lamp. That would be so fun.
All right, so that is it. Thank you for all of your questions. That takes us towards the end of the show. We want to thank everyone for listening and watching and being a part of the TRB community. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you to everyone who helped us get over 8,000 followers recently. That's very cool on Twitter. We appreciate that. But make sure that's all well and good, but to get to the show, you have to subscribe. So you can do that on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, pretty much any audio app you have for podcasts, we are there. So subscribe, because we have 2 episodes every week coming at you. Go to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for all of your Star Wars news, editorials, reviews, all that stuff, including the links to the book discussions that James is doing with Kyle. Teespring.com/stores/Resistance Broadcast if you want to get some of your gear. Makes a little Two Happen shirts, the black, the gold, all of our other designs, including what we're going to be promoting this week, the Gary the Porg shirt, which is Carrie Fisher's dog Gary in a Porg costume. So how cute is that? You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James?
Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks.
Lacey?
People can find me super pumped that I was able to lock down a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive X-Wing Hot Wheels toy at Lacey Gillerin on Twitter and Instagram.
You gonna do an unboxing video? Or are you gonna leave it in the box?
I have to.
Yes.
No, you don't have to take
Oh.
it out of the box. It like the box kind of slides off so you can see it, and then the X-wing inside the display has a thing on the side that makes it levitate, like in The Empire Strikes Back.
That's sweet.
So it's just a boxing video.
I guess.
Speaking of boxing, on Thursday we're bringing back Star Wars Wars. Ding, ding, ding! Get in the ring. The three of us are gonna duke it out over the best lightsaber duel in franchise history. That includes TV shows, movies, whatever. So
John's already talking trash.
Star Wars Wars is back. It may get ugly. I'm not going to lie to you folks. If you are faint of heart, if you like the three of us getting along all the time, may want to skip Thursday's
Such
episode.
great chemistry.
But if you like the spiciness and you like the unpredictability, what three people may say on a podcast when they're duking it out, definitely tune in Thursday. But either way, we hope you enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you hopefully Thursday right here on the Resistance broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.